Alright, welcome back, everybody. It's been a while since I've put out a video. I've been relatively silent this off-season, and I've done a couple things this off-season. I've done some interviews for my one-on-one show. I also had come out with a mini-series that I still have yet to finish. I got 2 more videos to do that before I believe I am through with it. I gotta get on that and finish that. There's been a lot of things that have happened this off-season that I have not addressed. It's been really, really difficult, to tell you the truth. It's been really, really difficult to want to come out with videos, considering that this off-season's been one of the more interesting off-seasons from my perspective, because I go back far enough to remember a lot of negativity with this franchise, and there's nothing new about the Washington Redskins and negativity. It's another thing to watch your team actually start to climb and crawl out of the depths of lethargy and actually do something and build on a possible future, only to watch them systematically destroy, which only ends up reconfirming what it is that we already know about this organization and the people that sit at the very top of it. I had to come to terms with some very cold hard facts, and some of those I have expressed on video, some of those I have not expressed on video. This off-season has been one of the more difficult. Even last year it was difficult for me to really want to come on and do more videos to kind of put an end to this channel. But then again, something else comes back up, and I feel like I need to make a video about it. Hence this situation now. There's been enough time that's gone by in this off-season where I feel like I've got to actually say something, because a lot's going on. And frankly, what I'm going to address right now is I'm going to address some of the issues that we've seen this off-season. This off-season has been very tumultuous for the Washington Redskins, and more importantly, I'm sorry to say, has been more tumultuous for its fans. I don't care about the organization necessarily from the neck down, because all those individuals are a hell of a lot richer than I am, and I'm living a hell of a lot more comfortably than I am. So my sympathy for them is very, very little. I feel for the fans. I feel for the individuals that are watching this video. I feel for the individuals that go out there and buy Redskins gear and support this team. I feel sorry for, and my sympathies go out for individuals who live in the area, who are from the area, that are fans of the team of the area, because they deserve more than this. They deserve more than the way that they have been treated thus far, and what they need to be treated, how they need to be treated thus far. Is with a certain amount of respect, to the point where you don't have season ticket holders that have had them for generations deciding to give them up. That's something that's been unprecedented for me as a fan. I haven't really seen that before. In the time that I have watched this team, I have not seen a huge uproar of season ticket holders just giving up their tickets. Now, of course, those season ticket holders giving up their tickets does not necessarily mean that other season ticket holders are coming in to grab those that have been given up. And that's what I think is beside the point. The point that I'm trying to make is you have individuals that have put up with years and years and years of crap that have finally met their threshold. It doesn't matter what has happened this year that we need to concentrate on as to why those people gave up their tickets. We need to concentrate on what's gone on in the last 20 years that has caused those people to give up those season tickets. And frankly, I can't say that I blame them. It costs a lot of money to maintain those season tickets. It costs a lot of money to even go to a game, to enjoy those season tickets, and then to put up with the final product that you're seeing and to see what's going on in the background that you've been putting up for years. I wouldn't do it either. And there's been a lot of stuff that's happened this off-season. A lot of these things I have addressed already on my videos and have given my opinions on, so I won't go into them here. The Kirk Cousins situation still remains to be a major, major issue, but there's been enough stuff that's happened this off-season to kind of deter us away from the Kirk Cousins situation. I've made videos on that too. The one small thing that I will comment when it comes to the Kirk Cousins situation is that we had better start coming to terms as a fan base with the realization that we're going to be blowing a very, very high draft pick on a quarterback for the future. Somebody who's unproven, somebody who hasn't taken a snap in the NFL, somebody who we're going to be putting, basically, regardless of the draft picks we give up, if we give up any, a single draft pick is a mortgage of the future. So giving up a first-round draft selection for a quarterback out of wherever is a huge investment, is a huge sacrifice. We've been here before. It hasn't worked out for us, and we are about to do it again, because I highly doubt we're going to be paying Kirk Cousins the money that he is asking for at the end of this season. To tell you the truth, guys, we would be crazy to give him that kind of money. We literally would be. We'd be committing suicide at that point financially. We would be unprecedented to pay a Kirk Cousins the kind of money that we have dictated that he demands. This is all the organization's fault. And I don't blame Kirk Cousins for asking for the money that he's asking for. I would do it too. You would do it too. You're not going to take less money than what you're worth. It's just not going to happen. That doesn't happen, period. Only there's fan bases all over the NFL that have this inclination and this notion that players are going to benefit the team by taking less money. It does not work that way. Does not work that way. These players are professionals. It is their profession. They're putting food on their plate. They're mortgaging, their livelihood, and they're basically trying to get as much money as they can while their careers last. And that window is very, very small. Nobody's guaranteed a 15-year career in this league, and those people are very, very few and far between. So you're going to take as much as you can possibly get. So if the market deems that you are worth X number of dollars, then you are not going to negotiate with your agent to take less money. So Kirk is not going to take less money. I highly doubt that that's going to happen. So this season is going to be interesting in the fact that you can only take so much with the season with a grain of salt, because his tenure here is probably going to be very short-lived. He's going to be here for the 2017 season. And that's going to be probably about it. I don't see him coming back after 2017, which means we're probably going to have to get another quarterback. And that's discouraging as a Redskins fan, because Kirk Cousins has probably been the best quarterback that we have had behind center for this franchise for the last 20 years. Probably even, some would even say 40 years. Because his statistics, his stats, his ability to move the ball without a running game is better than any other quarterback that I have seen. And we couldn't have blown the situation any more sky high than what we already have as an organization. It is baffling to me how you could take something that has fallen in your lap in a draft selection that we spent on this kid and have him end up becoming who he has become, and then couldn't get farther away from him as we possibly can. That makes no sense whatsoever. None. So we're going to see what happens when we give up 2,000-yard receivers and replace them with a Brian Quick or Terrell Pryor, or even a Josh Doxson. I believe in the Josh Doxson project. As far as his injury goes, I think that the Josh Doxson situation is, I would consider it fairly normal. When you are recovering from an injury that he had sustained, where you are not maintaining, your physical acumen because you're in rehab, there are other issues that begin to happen with your body. There are other muscles, there are other areas of your body that begin to deteriorate because you have fallen off on that. When it comes to camp, when it comes to the off-season camp workouts and stuff, they are full 100% effort that you put into it. And a lot of times the amount of abuse that you put on your body just doing those physical activities, even though it's not necessarily physical in the aspect of contact, it's physical in the aspect of the pressure that it puts on your joints, on your muscles, all of that stuff. That's why we see a lot of people with blown ACLs. We see a lot of people with, with Achilles tendons issues. We see people that rupture stuff. It's the effort that they put into it, and they have to, because they have to get ready for the regular season. Injuries are a part of football, and Josh Doxson has fallen victim to that very concept. I have faith that Josh Doxson is going to come back because he's young. His body's going to recover at a very, very fast rate. We may not be able to see the fruits of our labor on a Josh Doxson until probably the last half of the season, assuming that he remains healthy, but probably going into the 2018 season is when we're really going to see that prospect thrive as a first-round draft selection. He's got a lot of learning to do. He hasn't been on the football field that much. He hasn't seen a whole lot of NFL gameplay. So he's inexperienced at this point. Jamison Crowder is an individual who is going to be a big draw for us. He's going to be a big producer for us, and as somebody at this point, he's a veteran on this football team. He is one of the older statesmen on this football team, and I'm really, really counting heavily on Vernon Davis, Jordan Reed, and Jamison Crowder to come out and produce for us as offensive weapons. Yes, even Vernon Davis. I would consider Vernon Davis to be a major weapon for us. Jordan Reed is a guy who's just coming off of injury this season. This is common for him. All we can do with Jordan Reed is what we do every season with Jordan Reed, and that's cross our fingers and hope for the best. Hope that he's able to remain healthy, because this kid is a phenomenal talent, probably one of the top 3 best tight ends in the game today. And I think part of the reason why there's an argument against that statement is because we haven't seen a whole lot of Jordan Reed that we should have because of these injuries. And these injuries are a check mark against him. Now, when it comes to the wide receiver selections of Terrell Pryor and Brian Quick, I don't necessarily know. I'm not surprised that we ended up taking him, taking Quick, simply because of the investment that we put into him. I questioned the situation was with him in the off season was that he really didn't shine. He really didn't necessarily look like he was somebody who was going to make this roster. I think that he is probably one of the casualties of us getting rid of our backup quarterback situation, our third string quarterback situation in Nate Sudfeld. That's a possibility. I see that as an advantage for us because as many wide receivers you can throw into this situation that are going to get time to learn under a Kirk Cousins in this offense is going to be a benefit. I am done with the Ryan Grant project. I have been done with the Ryan Grant project. There's very little that he has done in these last 2 seasons that have impressed me. What absolutely shocks me and stuns me about Ryan Grant is his ability to stay on this roster. It is phenomenal. If I was him, and my advice to him is when he gets cut from this team, whether it be this year or 10 years, he needs to come out with a book, how to stay on an NFL roster. I think it would sell. I think it would do very, very well. How to stay on an NFL roster when you don't produce on game day. That would be the title of my book for Ryan Grant. How to stay on an NFL roster when you can't produce on game day. You got to be doing something in practice that is absolutely phenomenal and is wowing these coaches to the point where they forget all the crap that you've done during the regular season to have the off season be the reason why we keep you every single year. I'm tired of Ryan Grant. I'm tired of watching him drop footballs. I'm tired of him not getting his depth right. I'm tired of him. I don't care how many correct routes he's run in practice. He doesn't do it during the games. He did, and I'm sorry, but the last time I checked, that is where the measure of your ability to stay on a 53-man roster matters the most, is your ability to produce on game day. I don't know what he's doing. I really don't. And frankly, I expect to lose a lot more hair watching him play in the 2017 season. Now, when it comes to Pryor, I've saved him for the absolute last. I have reserved the right to be impressed or not impressed with Pryor. He's another one of those game day experiences for me. Frankly, there was not a whole lot about the offseason. There was nothing, absolutely nothing about preseason football that surprised me about Pryor. There were so many people that put this guy up on such a pedestal because of his physical attributes, the paper value that we see in a Terrell Pryor. And how poignant is that? We do that always, all the time. Especially with you fantasy football player people. You take a look at what's on paper and you automatically assume that this individual is going to be yay or nay. I don't care about what you look like on paper. I don't care about what you look like on camera. Brian Orakpo has taught me the attributes of seeing whether you can produce on the field or not. I don't care what comes out of your mouth. I don't care what comes out of your body. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how fast you are in the combine. I don't care how much you lift. I don't care how much you're catching in front of a machine, in front of fans, and drinking your sponsored Gatorade. I don't care about any of that crap. You put on that helmet on Sunday, and between the first quarter and fourth quarter, you either got it or you don't. And in my opinion, if you don't have it during those 4 quarters, you need to go. You need to be replaced by somebody who's willing to contribute. I'm not saying Pryor needs to be replaced. I'm saying that the jury for me is out on him. I don't have high expectations of him. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to get better throughout time. The more experiences he gets at wide receiver, the better he can get. But he has a very, very small window to actually be able to produce because his window's closing. His window's closing as far as his age. His window's closing as far as how well his body holds up. And in the not-for-long era of things, he's not going to be around forever. So I'm interested in seeing whether Terrell Pryor can produce. I think that he can learn a lot from this offseason. I think he can learn a lot from these preseason games to be able to use that as a springboard into the regular season. So hopefully we can see a lot more from him because, frankly, the thought of having really, really tall targets with great hands and a Terrell Pryor and a Jordan Reed, that is great because it opens things up for Jamison Crowder. It opens things up for this running game. Moving right along into this running game, we've taken three running backs and we've cut a couple running backs as well. We probably should have. Now, as far as I know, Robert Kelly, he's pretty much going to be one of our featured backs along with Chris Thompson. Those 2 individuals are individuals that I believe in. Anybody else that's on this roster, I think, is going to be a rotational piece. They're going to be an individual that we're going to kind of see how things go along. Did we end up taking Brown or not? I want to say we ended up keeping Brown. I've heard a lot of really, really good things about him, and I'm interested in seeing what it is that he's got from a regular season standpoint. But as far as the running backs that we do have, I have confidence in our running backs. I just don't have confidence in our running game. So in a lot of ways, I feel sorry for our running backs because we have virtually no running game. We ended up getting rid of Matt Jones, and I don't blame us for getting rid of Matt Jones. Matt Jones, at this point, was kind of a cancer. To talk about somebody who had first-round drafts ability as far as potential, and just ended up not panning out for us. We ended up exposing some of the worst things about Matt Jones, and we ended up kicking rocks with him, and we should have, because running backs are a dime a dozen in this league. I would take Alfred Morris over that individual. It is kind of sad to see us waste that draft selection on him, and then eventually ultimately end up cutting him and letting him go. But things are the way they are. That's just the way the ball bounces. So as far as the running game goes, I have virtually no confidence in the running game with this football team, which is an aspect of Washington Redskin football that has been a staple here for 80 years. We've always been able to run the football. We've always had that as a cornerstone. But that's one of the things we knew when we took our coach, was that he's a pass-first, pass-happy individual. And we've had to come to terms with the fact that our running game is going to suffer. And it has. How Sean Loval's been able to maintain a position on this team still is beyond me, because in my opinion, he's a blocking tight end. He's not a pass protection tight end. And I think that there are some problems with him that are going to continue throughout this season. Brandon Sheriff had a horrible offseason, but I actually still have faith that he's going to be able to turn it around, because Brandon Sheriff started out last season horribly. And then, given him a couple of weeks, he's actually turned out to be one of the better linemen that we've had in a long time, especially at that position. So I have faith that Brandon Sheriff is going to be able to produce. Morgan Moses is an individual that I'm really, really glad to see that we have on this football team. He has struggled as well, but he's an individual that I know, after investing money in him, I have faith in Morgan Moses. I hope that he's going to be able to produce for us, and if he's not going to be able to produce for us, it's not going to be for the lack of talent. I happen to think it's going to probably be injury. One of these linemen is bound to come up with a major injury, because we've been really, really lucky from the injury standpoint when it comes to this offensive line. Spencer Long has been a rotational piece. He was an individual who was a depth a spot for us, a person that had played guard, a person that was looking at being a backup for Trent Williams for the longest time, because we didn't really have anybody else that could take that spot. But he right now is acting center, and he's gotten better. He's not somebody who I would consider to be a mainstay at that position, but we'll see how it ends up working out for him. Trent Williams is Trent Williams. Honestly, Trent Williams is a guy who did not have a good offseason, but I'm not going to sit here and discount his offseason with how he's going to play in the regular season. He is a seasoned veteran. He is a leadership in that. He's a leadership aspect in that locker room, and he knows how to come out and produce on game day. So I got no aspects about Trent Williams that make me worry about him. Ty Nsekhe is an individual who's still on this football team. He's a good backup piece for us to have. Great tackle. An individual who's going to service this football team greatly should there be an injury at the guard position. We also have Chase Roullier. Chase Roullier, I've heard some very interesting things about. I'm not going to count what it is I've seen in the offseason as going to be a plus for him. It's going to come down to how he's able to block first-team defensive talent on game days, to whether I'm going to gauge whether he's good or not. But it seems like he was a good pickup for us and is going to be a good addition. I'm glad to see him on this team. TJ Clemmings is an individual also. That's a project piece. He has potential, but he's been a monumental failure in Minnesota. I actually got a text message from a friend of mine about him saying that he was really, really glad to have offloaded Clemmings, and was sad to see him go to Washington, because he knows that I was a fan of Washington. And I said, look, we've had our fair share of individuals that were just like him, people that we have rotated out to other teams that have actually ended up playing better than they did for us. Hopefully Clemmings is going to be that individual that does that for us. Hopefully he's going to be an individual that produces and becomes a good addition for this football team, because he needs a second chance in this league. And what better way than to go to another team, and hopefully your environment and the coaching staff will allow you to do better. Moving on over into the defensive side of things, and I'm going to try to make this quick as fast as I can. Ziggy Hood is going to be an individual, I think, that there's really not a whole lot about this nose tackle position that is inspiring to anybody. Not even Ziggy Hood in that position is inspiring to me. We ended up losing an individual who's looking like he was going to be a good nose tackle, but he ended up suffering a season-ending injury, and that sucks. That may very well end up being the last time he plays for us, and maybe even in the league. But that's the way the ball bounces, man. Sometimes you just end up getting unlucky like that. We have Jonathan Allen, of course. Jonathan Allen, defensive end, who's going to be coming into this roster. Honestly, guys, I don't think we need to keep our hopes too high on a Jonathan Allen. He's not going to be what I would consider a massive difference maker. He's going to be a staple on this defense. He's going to have an all-pro career. He has that caliber of athletic ability behind him. We just have to be able to allow him to stay healthy and to flourish on this defensive line. And frankly, if you want to see Jonathan Allen ball out on this defense, you've got to draft at least 2 or 3 more Jonathan Allens on this football team. I think that he dropped in our lap for a reason, and we need to invest in first and second round draft selections right behind him to be able to allow a Jonathan Allen to come out and become the disruptive force that he has the potential to be. Without that type of commitment, you're going to get mediocre ability out of Jonathan Allen because he's just not going to be offset. He's not going to be able to do it by himself. Ziggy Hood, I look forward to seeing. All I'm really looking for from Ziggy Hood is I'm looking for gap control. I'm looking for gap integrity. I'm looking for him to be able to control his assignment, and that's about it. I'm not looking at him to get to the quarterback. I'm not looking at him to be a disruptive force. He just doesn't have that ability. Especially when it comes to double teams. He's not going to be able to be that type of individual. So I think he's going to be a good mainstay for us, but that's obviously a weak position for us, and it always has been for years. Going on to the linebacker situation. The linebacker situation is one that really, really has frustrated me the last couple of years. I've been phenomenally frustrated. We have seen some good things. We have seen some bad things this offseason when it comes to that position. Preston Smith is probably the one individual that I'm going to highlight, that I'm going to put on my #1 seed for what it is I need to see this season. He's going to be an individual that I watch tremendously because we've invested a lot into Preston Smith. We invested a very high draft selection on a defensive player that so far has not been able to produce. And what I've seen last year was probably the worst I've ever seen him play in my life. And I really don't want to see any more of that. I want to see phenomenal gameplay out of him. I want to see him be the potential outside linebacker that he has the potential to be. So I'm really going to be watching him. He has a lot to prove to us this offseason because last year was absolutely horrible. Mason Foster is an individual that I think that is going to get better. I've said this last season. I'm going to say this again this season. I don't think Mason Foster was coupled with an individual that could allow his talents to come out onto the football field. I don't think that Will Compton had that ability. I think that now that he's playing next to a Zach Brown, I think you're going to see a little bit more out of Mason Foster. I think he's a leadership guy that right now, so far as I know, he's calling the plays on defense, which is good. But I think playing next to that all-pro talent that is a Zach Brown is going to allow him to actually stretch as an athlete. So hopefully we can see a lot more out of Mason Foster. And then, of course, Zach Brown's going to be an individual. Zach Brown, we need to take a look at the gameplay of Zach Brown and decide that it's not just Zach Brown. We need to come to the realization that we need about 3 or 4 Zach Browns on this football team. To watch him break on the ball is what I have been bitching about for years when it comes to this defense, since London Fletcher left. And London Fletcher didn't really break on the ball as well as Zach Brown does because London Fletcher was old. And London Fletcher was always hurt and in a boot every single season. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. But Zach Brown has the ability to sniff out a play and to break on a play and to get to the line of scrimmage, to get to the point of impact faster than most people on this football team. And that is the type of linebacker play you want to see. That is what I have been complaining about. This is part of the reason why I've had an issue with Will Compton. Will Compton, phenomenal guy, great leadership ability. I do not question his leadership ability at all. I do not question his ability to call defenses. I do not question his heart. This is the reason why heart does not take you all the way in this league. It sounds great. It looks great on Hallmark cards. It's great in Hollywood. But the reality of the situation is you can have all the heart in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to make an NFL roster. I don't care how big your heart is. If you don't have athletic ability, if you do not have game break ability, your seasons on these football teams are going to be very, very limited. Will Compton's heart or all his heart, his leadership ability, his desire are all in the right place. But that doesn't mean you deserve to be starting. He does not have the athletic ability to do what it is that I need him to do as a middle linebacker. He just doesn't have it. I've seen so many plays that have been maintained and sustained from the running game because he has had an inability to get from point A to point B in a satisfactory fashion. Just satisfactory. It hasn't even been subpar. It's been below par. And we can sit here and talk about all the wonderful things in the locker room. We can talk about all the wonderful things off the field. We could talk about all the wonderful things that he does wherever, in the practice bubble, on the radio. But on game day, I'm not necessarily seeing his ability. He's just the better option on this football team for the last couple of seasons. Now that we have Zach Brown, we can see what it is that a middle linebacker is supposed to look like on a football team. So I'm looking forward to Zach Brown being there. Martrell Spate's an individual that I have secretly been admiring and have been hoping for the success of on this football. He was one of the first people, I think, that our old general manager had ended up picking up and putting on this roster. He was a tackling machine in college, and I'm waiting to see his ability on special teams, and hopefully that special teams ability will get him some looks on this defense, and he'll be able to shine. That's something that that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully he's going to be able to produce for us in that fashion. So I have a lot of hopes for Martrell Spate. Ryan Kerrigan as an individual is going to be Ryan Kerrigan. He's starting to lose a little bit as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't quite have the motor that he used to have. He's getting older. Maybe it might be time to start taking a look at the possibility of giving him a little less time on the football field. I think making him a rotational pass rushing situation would probably be best. So I would consider, if I'm on this 53-man roster and if I'm an outside linebacker or an inside linebacker, I'm taking a look at the Ryan Kerrigan position with a little bit of interest and saying, hey, you know what? I might be able to play behind that position. If he's able to get some rest for a down or two and then come back on and really turn it on for a third down and short or third down and long situation, then that might be a position I could squeeze myself into. But I don't necessarily think that a Ryan Kerrigan on an every down situation is going to be feasible for us in the next couple of seasons. But we'll see. If he has to be in there every single play on defense, I'm not going to complain. I mean, I'm not. He's Ryan Kerrigan. I just think there may be some potential to do better at that spot. Junior Galette's going to be an individual that I'm really looking forward to seeing. We've invested a lot in this kid. We have, and it hasn't been in money. It's been in patience. We have invested a lot of patience in Junior Galette. He has a tremendous talent, a tremendous ability, something that you just don't coach, something that you just can't teach. He has the ability to get to the quarterback, and those guys are a premium. Those guys you pay a lot of money to, and we're hoping that that project pays off for us. We hope that he's a disruptive force, because I can tell you right now, if Junior Galette ends up paying off for this football franchise, it's going to open up other positions on this defense. It's going to open, if you can get to the pass rusher. If you can get to the pass rusher and disrupt his life on a consistent basis from a guy like a Junior Galette, it's going to open up things for a guy like Jonathan Allen. It's going to open up things for like a Ryan Kerrigan. It's going to open up options for Mason Foster and a Zach Brown. That's just the minimal secondary positions and the front line position. It's going to open up a lot of things for us. It's also going to open up things from a defensive back standpoint as well. So a Junior Galette, a lot can hinge on the success or the failure of this team if he's able to really come on and be able to produce and stay healthy. Right now, the name of the game for him is staying healthy. Going into the defensive backs, I'm not going to touch this situation with Sua Cravens. That's going to be for a later video, so don't worry about that. I'm not even going to address him, because to me right now he's not on this roster. Bashaud Breeland, I think we understand a little bit about Bashaud Breeland at this point. Phenomenal talent, tremendous ability, has the ability to be a difference maker on this football team. Unfortunately, he's a drama queen. Unfortunately, he likes to throw temper tantrums, and he likes to go off on the side of the field and kick and scream like a 5-year-old at Walmart that can't get his way when they see candy on the kiosk. I think we understand that a little bit better as a coaching staff now. I was starting to lose my patience with the Bashaud Breeland. And I think once we really kind of started turning the screws on him and pissing him off, that he finally came out and was actually starting to ball out for us. So maybe that's a way that we get through to him. I don't know. All I know is that Bashaud Breeland is what I would consider temperamental as far as athletic ability on the football field. I'm really, really hoping for the best for him, because we've invested a lot in him as well, and I would like to see that project come out. He has the ability to be a number one corner. That's the one thing he doesn't understand. He's pissed off about the gameplay around him. He needs to stop and worry about what's going on with him. He needs to be a number one talent in his mind and his heart, and go out there and act like it. Fabian Moreau is an individual that I'm obviously interested in. I would like to see him do really, really well. We've invested a lot in him as far as the draft selection goes. I'd like to see him be able to do well. Quinton Dunbar's still on this team. Quinton Dunbar has experience. I would not consider him to be a phenomenal talent, but he knows this defense, and he does mediocre work for us, which is good. You know, you take your Quinton Dunbars when you can. DeShazer Everett and DJ Swearinger. DJ Swearinger is a guy that I don't have a whole lot of... I'm not tremendously inspired by a DJ Swearinger, because DJ Swearinger on a normal top 15 defense is a mediocre safety at best. But for us, he's going to be a phenomenal safety because we really don't have very many options beyond DJ Swearinger. So I'm looking for him to be able to come in and help us out with the run game and be able to help us out with the mediocre zone stuff. I don't know if DJ Swearinger has the ability to play cover 2 and get that deep third, get that deep hash mark play, and that's the one that really, really scares me the most with anybody on this football team, with the exception of maybe a Josh Norman. But DJ Swearinger is going to be a guy I think that situationally he's going to be a huge asset to us. And that's going to be about it as far as the defense goes. I didn't name everybody. I don't plan on going through everybody. There's definitely people that we're going to keep an eye on. This defense got better through the offseason, but this still is not a top 10 defense. This is not a top 15 defense. Last year, our defense was ranked in the lower half of all the 32 teams in the NFL, as well it should have been. I still do not have a whole lot of confidence in this team being able to get off the field on third down at any distance. But I think our chances of being able to do so are better than what they were last year. I think that there's some building block pieces here. But I still think we need a lot more to invest in this defense in order for us to become truly dangerous. But more importantly, these project people that we have drafted, these project people that we have brought in, those things need to pay off. They need to pay off. Okay, the Junior Galette project, that needs to pay off for us. The Zach Brown project needs to pay off for us. Who else can I throw in here? Fabian Moreau needs to pay off for us. The Bashaud Breelands need to pay off for us. These things we need to invest in them, and they need to mature, and they need to become better and become productive, which is a staple that does not happen in Washington. We do not have that ability, and I've been praying every single year since I was a kid that this comes true. And this year's no different. I hope that these projects pay off, even though we're not known for it. That's going to do it for me, guys. I'm not going to necessarily address the special teams. Special teams looks good. I like special teams. It's looking really, really good for us. And hopefully that can transfer into the regular season. There's some definite potential there. But as far as the offense and the defense goes, that's going to be my synopsis. I didn't cover, actually, the Kirk Cousins situation. Kirk Cousins situation, I only talked about his contract possibilities. As far as his gameplay goes, I just hope we keep him protected. If you protect this kid, if you keep him from getting knocked down or getting hit, he's going to throw interceptions. He's going to have gameplay that's going to upset management and is going to upset our coaching staff, but that's every quarterback in this league. I think that he has potential to play just as well, if not better, than he did last year. And if he plays a little bit worse than he did last year, that doesn't really bother me either, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of other things on this roster that concern me more than the performance of a Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk knows and understands a little bit better how this game is played at this level. And anything that he does from now on is going to be a huge benefit, and it's going to be a huge feather in his cap as far as experience goes, and that's what ultimately is going to make him better. Even he has said as such. Each game, each snap makes him a better player, and he sees more and is able to do more having that experience. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well he does this offseason too, assuming that he stays healthy, because unfortunately the only thing that we have behind him is Colt McCoy, and the demise of our season should Kirk Cousins go down. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Leave your comments down in the comments section below. I'm going to come back with another video. I'm going to talk about the Sua Craven situation. I'm also going to address a couple other situations as well. I'm probably going to be working on some other projects, but look forward for some comments from me. Again, sorry I've been off for this off season. It's just been really, really frustrating the way that this team has been handling itself in the off season. It's hard being a Redskins fan anymore. It really, really is. And most of us that have been on YouTube that have stuck together, pretty much all we've got is each other. Because what's going on off that field, up in that administration office, it's embarrassing. So that's going to do it for me, guys. And remember, for all of us fans of the Twin Feather, we ride together. Redskins for life. We'll catch you next time.